Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I am Bill.
And I am Trevor.
And this is Bill and Trevor's Excellent Adventure.
Good to be back.
It's great to be back. I want to start this time with a little recap because we're at a watershed moment in John's narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody that's been paying attention will remember that we started at the end looking at the purpose for writing the gospel in the first place, and then seeing how this fits into the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So first I'm going to read out of John 20, the last few verses there where John writes, "Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name."
Mm.
So John says at the end, the big reveal, of course, everybody reads this gospel 50 million times, so it's not a shock. Everybody knows by now.
Yeah.
If you read it once, you know the purpose of the gospel is to produce faith. Well, he says that the miracles he presented are in order that you may believe Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Well, he's done all of that already. We're up to John chapter 12. There's 21 chapters in John. He's already presented the 7 miracles. Now, quiz. What were the 7 miracles in John?
Ooh. From me, well, the one we just read about raising Lazarus from the dead. The healing the blind man at the pool on the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. I can't remember if that one was in there. Was water into wine in there? I don't think it was.
In where?
In John?
Yes.
It was. Okay, there you go. That's 3. And the oof. Is this
See,
one
I
in there?
cheated. I looked it up.
Well, now I'm curious if I can even do it. Was the raising of the girl from the dead?
Tabitha is not in John.
Tabitha's not in John. Okay, well then is the healing of the centurion's.
Let me help you out.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So the very first one presented is Jesus turning the water into wine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the significant thing there is the impact it had on the disciples.
Yeah.
And in fact, what it tells you about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to recap all of that.
Yeah.
And then the second healing presented in John is when he came back from Jerusalem and he healed the official's son.
Oh, okay, yes.
And then later is the healing you mentioned, the paralytic at the pool. Did you mention that one?
I did, yeah. That's
okay. Yeah, so that was one. And he did this one on the Sabbath day, and that drove a lot of the commentary by John on people's reaction to the signs.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next one presented is the feeding of the 5,000.
Yep.
The only miracle that's presented in all 4 Gospels.
Mm-hmm.
But John doesn't spend a whole lot of time talking about that. It just sets the stage for more commentary later. Oh, by the way, in between the feeding of the 5,000 and the commentary is Jesus walking on water.
Yes. Okay.
Then there's the healing of the blind man, and that serves to set up a deeper explanation of the stubbornness of the Jewish authorities to deal with the facts that are right in front of their face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it drives to the big climax of raising Lazarus from the dead.
Yep.
And last time we looked at some of the aftermath of that when Jesus is having dinner with the dead man and his sisters, and the Jewish authorities are just freaking out and saying, we got to kill him because people know he came back from the dead.
Yep.
I just think it's hilarious.
It is. It's an interesting look at things for sure.
Now, there's a lot of discussion about why the number 7, and in a lot of Jewish literature, 7 is a significant number. It represents completion or perfection because God created the universe in 7 days, and on the 7th day, there wasn't anything left to do, so he rested.
Yep.
It's like, dropping the mic, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, the number 7 is considered significant for that reason. John presented 7 signs. He doesn't call them miracles. He uses the word sign
Yep.
which we've discussed. A sign is to point you someplace and where you're supposed to be looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we have 7 signs, but John's not anywhere near done with this gospel.
Nope.
Because his purpose was not simply to persuade you on the basis of miracles, but as he said, that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and by believing you may have life in his name. What he's going to be doing for the rest of his gospel is preaching the gospel.
Yeah.
If you are willing to accept by now the arguments that John has presented, he stated early in that the real reason people resist believing is because they don't want to change. He said that to Nicodemus. It's because the deeds are evil.
Yeah.
He said elsewhere in John chapter 8 that if someone holds to his teaching, then he will know the truth.
Yeah.
That following Jesus' teachings will create a resonance within a person that says, this is the way, walk in it. Now, we're not talking about Jesus' teachings in this podcast. Somebody's going to have to read elsewhere and get all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the point that John is making is that Jesus presented lots of evidence for anybody who cares about evidence. And John himself points out, and oh, by the way, the reason you don't care about evidence has to do with your stubbornness to change.
Yep.
But if you're willing to test it out, you're going to find out. Now we're going to change the subject and talk about the gospel.
Yeah.
And this is where we pick up reading in John 12. And I think we're about to start reading in verse 12.
That's where that's where
So this is the beginning of what people call Passion Week.
Okay.
Passion being a very old-fashioned word for, his agony. And I'll have you read so I can interrupt.
Sounds good. All right, I'll start in verse 12. The next day, the great crowd that had come for the festival heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. They took palm branches and went out to meet him, shouting, Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel. Jesus found a young donkey and sat on it, as it is written, Do not be afraid, daughter Zion. See, your king is coming, seated on a donkey's colt. At first, his disciples did not understand all this. Only after Jesus was glorified did they realize that these things had been written about him, and that these things had been done to him. Now the crowd that was with him when he called Lazarus from the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to spread the word. Many people, because they had heard that he had performed this sign, went out to meet him. So the Pharisees said to one another.
Let's pause here for a moment.
Yes.
Let's just visualize this scene. This is like chaos madness.
Yeah.
Jesus is coming into Jerusalem at the beginning of Passover week. Only Jesus recognizes the significance of what he's doing. He's riding this donkey, didn't tell anybody why we're going to have a donkey for this parade.
Yep.
Didn't organize the parade. The parade was spontaneous, but Jesus knew that was going to happen. And the reason why it happened is because something truly remarkable had happened. Lazarus, who was a prominent guy, probably because of his wealth, had died. Everybody knew he had died, was stinking. Jesus raised him from the dead, and everybody saw it. And can you imagine the talk of the town?
I can't, not at all, actually.
Well, word was getting out, because it says here in verse 17 that the crowd that had been with him when he called Lazarus out of the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to bear witness. This is like gossip spreading like wildfire.
Yeah.
And everybody's hyped up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they are expecting a Christ, a Messiah. They are expecting a military Messiah.
Yeah.
Somebody that's got the power to drive Rome out.
Mm-hmm.
And what has Jesus excited the crowd about? Look, this guy can feed an army out of nothing. And even if you get killed, he can raise you back from the dead.
Yep.
Jesus is unstoppable. It's happening. And they're all hyped up.
Yeah.
Because it says here in verse 18, the reason why the crowd went to meet him was that they had heard he had done this sign.
Yeah.
So if you can picture all of that, everybody's just fired up. Even if they don't know the full story about what Jesus is all about, this is some exciting news.
Oh, yeah.
People have been waiting for the Messiah for centuries. Finally, he's here.
Yeah, he's here. Maybe not in the way you thought.
So verse 19. Read verse 19.
Gotcha. So the Pharisees said to one another, "See, this is getting us nowhere. Look how the whole world has gone after him.
So tell me what you think about that statement.
I don't. I think it's interesting. They say, "See, this is getting us nowhere." I don't know what this is, because this is the last thing they said is we need to kill both Jesus and Lazarus now.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, they haven't done anything yet, so I don't know what this is that they're talking about at this point. Maybe it's because I know that they said they've told people that if you associate with Jesus, that you'll be thrown out of the synagogues. But yeah, I think it's very interesting. But the Pharisees, what it says to me is the Pharisees just crave power.
Well, I cautioned you about getting too specific on words, especially if you're still reading out of an NIV,
Yeah,
because they take great latitude
they do.
in how to present it.
Mhm.
In the ESV, it says, "You see that you are gaining nothing. Look, the world has gone after him."
Okay.
And I just popped up my favorite app, the Blue Letter Bible,
Yep.
available free for download from Google Play and the Apple Store. Endless hours of spiritual enlightenment and entertainment.
Perfect.
And with the Blue Letter Bible, I can tap on this verse and go to the interlinear, and then I can look at the original text, and down one column, I see the Greek words, and down the other column, I see the English words that were translated from the Greek words, and there's no this in there. So if I go back one button, back to the passage, and I tap on it again, and this time there's another item that I sometimes go to called translation comparison.
Okay, yeah.
So I tap on that one and I compare how various translations render that. I just told you how my ESV says it. The NSB 20, which I have read, is even stricter in word-for-word translation than the ESV, says, "You see that you are not accomplishing anything." No word this. And then the Net Bible, which is more of a dynamic equivalence like the NIV or functional equivalent, says, "You see that you can do nothing. Look, the world has run off after him." And then the EIV is kind of by themselves saying this. So let's not go with this.
Okay.
They're just expressing their frustration because they can't get any traction on the anti-Jesus movement.
No, they can't. Yeah. So interesting that they know the signs, they've seen the signs, and their mind is made up.
And it won't turn back.
Mm-mm.
Now, among those who went up to worship at the feast were some Greeks. Greek word there is Hellenist. It's ambiguous to me. I think that probably means, what's the word? Hellenistic Jews.
What's yeah. No, I think also Hellenists. So I thought Hellenistic Jews was the term for Jews that partook in Greek mythology or Greek religion.
Well, they didn't believe the Greek religion, but in the Jewish diaspora, when they spread out among all kind of nations, not everybody came back to Israel.
Yeah, okay.
And some of the Jews got scattered out into Greek and Roman territory.
That's what
They continued to live as Jews, but they started speaking Greek. They understood the Greek culture.
Okay.
And as far as certain hardline Jews in Jerusalem were concerned, they weren't, put this in quote marks, real Jews. Not that they were polytheistic, because they weren't.
Okay, yeah.
But they were too Greek for the taste of conservative Jewish element in the religious hierarchy.
I see. So it was more politicking than actual. Okay, nice.
And prejudice.
And prejudice, of course.
So these people who are quote unquote Greeks come to Jesus and say, they didn't come to Jesus, actually. They probably couldn't get to him. They go to Philip. And they say, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus," because they knew Philip was an apostle.
Yep.
So then Philip, he doesn't go directly to Jesus. He goes and tells Andrew.
Yep.
And then Andrew and Philip together go up to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And then read how Jesus responds.
Jesus replied, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it, while anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven, I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. The crowd was there and heard it. The crowd was there and heard it, said it had thundered. Or the crowd that was there, rather, had heard it and said it had thundered. Others said an angel had spoken to him. Jesus said, this voice was for your benefit, not mine. Now is the time for judgment on this world. Now the prince of this world will be driven out. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all the people to myself. He said this to show the kind of death he was going to die. The crowd spoke up. We have heard from the law that the Messiah will remain forever. So how can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is the Son of Man? Then Jesus told them, you are going to have the light just a little while longer. Walk while you have the light before darkness overtakes you. Whoever walks in the dark does not know where they are going. Believe in the light while you have the light, so that you may become children of light. When he had finished speaking, Jesus left and hid himself from them.
Let's talk for a minute. So the other Gospels make a bigger point of this than John does.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus was making no secret of the fact that he expected to be killed.
Yeah.
And here he is now after the triumphant entry and telling everybody, I'm coming here to die. Because you can't really have a real impact unless you're willing to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, but if I die, I'm going to have some impact. And then he says, what am I going to say about this? I'm troubled. He was sure deity projected into this reality, but he's projected into this reality. He's got flesh, he's got blood, he's got fears, and he's dreading it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's saying, what you going to do? No, get me out of here?
Yeah.
No, that's what I came here to do. And so instead he turns to God and says, Father, glorify your name. And then his booming voice comes down from the sky, and most people just think it's thunder.
Yeah. But that's got to be an experience.
But the critical thing to recognize for the sake of the gospel is to recognize that nobody did this to Jesus against his will.
No.
Nobody had the power to make him do anything he didn't want to do. But he walks into Jerusalem publicly declaring, I'm coming here to die, and nobody gets it.
Yep. And I mean, there's so many times where Jesus could have stopped things, and there's no real reason for him to be doing this unless he wants to do this.
Including the line we just read where Jesus hid himself from them. And I still don't know how you do that in a crowd.
I have no idea.
Cloaking device on. Keep on reading.
All right, sounds good. Even after Jesus had performed so many signs in their presence, they still would not believe in him. This was to fulfill the word of Isaiah the prophet. Lord, who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For this reason they could not believe, because, as Isaiah says elsewhere, he has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, so they can neither see with their eyes nor understand with their hearts, nor turn, and I would heal them. Isaiah said this because he saw Jesus' glory and spoke about him. Yet at the same time, many even among the leaders believed in him. But because of the Pharisees, they would not openly acknowledge their faith for fear that they would be put out of the synagogue. For they loved human praise more than praise from God.
Now, I would love to talk for a little bit about this idea about believing.
Yeah.
Because everybody's all hyped up because the Messiah's in town. He can raise the dead. He can feed the army.
Yep.
And yet here it's saying they didn't believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
And he says also, but a lot of the authorities believed in him. And I would like to push on this idea of what does that mean? But we're out of time.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to continue in the next episode
of Bill and Trevor's Excellent Adventure.